Okay. On the right frequency?
12855.
Cranberry Tower, Tech 919er Alpha Alpha, holding short 17. We're going to stay in the traffic pattern this morning.
Tech 919 Alpha Alpha, Grand Prairie Tower, Romeo 17, clear for takeoff, report midfield left downwind.
Clear for takeoff 17, report midfield, 19er Alpha Alpha.
Alright. In which direction are we going to go on the traffic pattern, left or right?
Left.
Good.
Okay, don't see anybody coming in. Of course, we were given the clear too, so.
Oh, don't assume that. No one's. I've had several times where I've been clear for takeoff with someone crossing the fence line.
Yeah, I can imagine.
At that point, you say, I'm going to wait.
Yeah, a little bit safer at that point. Okay, let's get some throttle here. Alrighty. 48, 49, 50, and here we go.
Good. Yep, using the right amount of rudder there.
You're saying I was using the correct amount?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure about the way the nose kind of turned to the...
Yeah, once that nose wheel lifts off the ground, you lose some of that resistance to wanting to turn left.
Uh-huh.
So as soon as that nose wheel rotates, you're going to have to add a touch more right rudder. Not much, just a touch more, just because it is going to start, what's the word I want to use for it? Kind of yaw to the left a little bit more.
Right. Alright. Looks like we got a nice climb out speed here around 66, 68. Alright. Little bumpy, 1100. We're going to turn crossing in. Alright. Looking beautiful, feeling beautiful this morning. We're at 4200, level off. Start the downwind leg.
A little bit too much rudder there.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing. Have you ever seen me close my eyes while we're flying? I'm feeling your coordination is what I'm doing.
Oh, okay. Alright. You wanted a report on midfield, I believe.
Yep. Here, midfield 17 for the option.
Cranberry Tower, Tech 919er Alpha Alpha. Midfield, on the left for 17 for the option. Something to that effect. He got the message.
19er Alpha Alpha, Romeo 17, clear for the option.
17 for the option, 19er Alpha Alpha. Alright.
You saw how loud it got in here on downwind?
Yeah.
One tip is put it back to about 4,500 to keep the speed down a little bit on downwind.
Alright. And been a little bit out of practice and not paying attention to quite everything.
Yep. Went a little bit far out this time, but that'll be just fine. Far out is a little bit easier to correct than being too close into the runway.
Alright. The wind must be a little bit gusty this morning.
A touch. We got about 20 knots up here.
Laps all the way down.
Wood check.
$170 at 10.
Nice and right down the runway.
I'll say that definitely sounded good. It feels good now. It's just,
Yeah, getting through these transition layers.
yeah. Throttle back.
Angle, push.
There you go. Very good.
Angle, push.
That was awesome.
Angle, push.
Remember, rudder, not aileron.
Yeah.
Other direction. There you go. Yeah, very good on the flare. You kind of waited a little bit too long to start that round out, but the flare was perfect. You can kind of let it dive down, and then you did that last second.
Oh, okay.
The rest, make sure you do a little shallow descent and then let it gradually level off. But your flare was perfect. Feels good not to fly in a little bit and then come out and grease the landing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Of course, you know, I've been thinking about it a lot. I haven't done the actual armchair stuff that I probably should be doing.
But you've been mentally flying it.
Right. Okay, now. You said I waited a little bit too long on the round out?
On the round out, you just kind of descended down. You went straight from a descent to a flare. Now your flare was perfect. But remember, we want to, as soon as we pull to idle, we still want to keep a gradual descent down to the ground. So keep the nose down a little bit, and then we do that smooth round out, and then slowly transition into a flare.
Okay, so I just basically transitioned too quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Start that transition a little earlier.
Okay.
And you can be a little slower with the transition when you started earlier, of course.
These little transition layers are a little bit bumpy, but
Yeah.
it ain't too bad.
Number 4,500 on the RPM.
All right.
You feel the plane's a little more in control on down when it's not quite getting as fast as it was.
Grand Prairie Tower, good morning, pipeline 593.
Here, I got this call.
Pipeline 593, Grand Prairie Tower.
Pipeline 593 is just crossing Arlington's extended center line here to the south, transitioning eastbound along the power lines like to transition your space eastbound.
Pipeline 593, transition approved, altimeter 3010.
3010, 593, appreciate it.
Tech 9 Alpha Alpha to beam the numbers, 17 for the option.
Technam 9 Alpha Alpha, runway 17 clear for the option.
17 clear for the option, 9 Alpha Alpha.
Okay.
All right. Since we do have that little bit of a headwind on final, it reminded me that went out a little bit too far last time.
Yep.
Righty.
A little bit high.
Yeah. I've got to learn to watch that as I'm coming around the base. And
Yep. Base is the decision leg. That's where we make that decision. Okay, what are we going to do to get to the correct path? Are we on the correct path? If not, how do we get there? Yeah, don't be afraid to go to idle.
Yeah.
Idle makes a big difference in how this plane descends.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I guess it's just...
A little shy of going to idle anywhere other than over top of the runway.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you need it, don't be afraid to.
And I'm going flaps down now.
Yep, we're right on glide path, so we can start creeping that throttle back in. Remember, this thing does actually end up using quite a bit of power when you're on glide path.
And we want to hold around 60 at this point.
Yeah, you can go a little bit higher on the power. There you go.
I'm getting better at watching the target area with the window and the...
Yeah, I can see it.
But I know it's still practice, practice, practice.
Good, you felt that.
Alrighty.
Angle, push.
Oop, a little bit high.
Yep.
Angle,
Pipeline
push.
593, frequency change approved, good day.
Angle,
So what I was talking
push.
about, you kind of started doing a flare. Remember, descend down and then do a smooth level off above the runway, and then slowly transition to a flare. So we're not necessarily descending the whole time. We're descending and then leveling off and flying level over top of the runway, like 2 or 3 feet above the ground for a bit.
Okay.
That's what we want to do. Good job, though. You felt that little sink and you caught it with the power.
At least I feel a lot more comfortable than I used to, you know, like...
Oh, yeah. Here, let me have the controls here. Let me show you what I'm talking about with that.
Okay.
Actually, you have the controls. I got a
Alright.
chair just slid backwards.
No problem.
Alright, I have the controls.
You have the controls?
I have the controls. There we go.
I don't know if that trim works on that side unless they fixed it.
Yeah, they did fix it.
Oh, okay.
Finally.
Forever.
So, make sure you use the speed indicator, but primarily use your nose in front of you. Once you get that speed set, the nose really shouldn't change. So if the nose is pitching up and down, then you know the speed is changing. Because the nose is the speed.
Right.
Good morning, Tower, Euro 11.
Euro 11, Grand Prix Tower.
Yes, sir, 11's at Airbus with Kilo XX out to the west grass for some other work.
Euro 11, have a taxi onto the west grass.
11.
Yeah, taking 19 Alpha Alpha, midfield left downwind 17 for the option, requesting a short approach.
Taking 9 Alpha Alpha, short approach approved, runway 17, clear for the option.
17 clear for the option, taking 19 Alpha Alpha.
Alright, so what I want you to watch is how, as soon as I pull the power to idle, what I start doing there, how the pitch of the nose changes. Notice how when I pull to idle, I don't immediately start raising the nose. Originally, I just keep letting the aircraft descend how it wants to descend, so the nose is going to drop slightly when I reduce to idle.
Okay.
I'm not pushing the nose down, I'm just letting it kind of fall a little bit. Because I'm trying to get it to maintain 60 even down until I start that round out. So I'm not losing airspeed until I'm a couple feet above the ground.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to idle, but I'm keeping the descent and I'm keeping that airspeed up. The reason being, if you get out on a gusty day and all of a sudden you lose airspeed, if you're 30 feet above the ground and already in a semi-flare at 55 knots, that's less energy you have to recover from it.
Okay.
So we're trying to keep our energy up to the ground and then bleed it off when we're very close to the ground. So that if you say stall from 2 feet above the ground, it's no problem at all. That's a normal landing. Whereas if you stall from 30 feet above the ground, that's most definitely not a normal landing.
That's true.
So we're trying to keep our energy up. The idea is to be as safe as possible. We're trying to keep as much energy in the plane as long as we can, within reason. We don't want to come in at 100 knots because then we burn 3,000 feet of runway.
That's true.
So I'm coming down. I got that 17, a little bit of a sink there, so I'm going to add a little bit of power. Pretty good little sink there. All right, so what I want you to watch is as I pull to idle, I'm still descending right here. Then I'm starting that gradual round off. And look, we're at 60 knots right now. And then I'm just kind of letting it sit above the ground until those back wheels touch like that.
Okay.
So I was still at 60 knots when I got down there close to the ground. So I'm keeping my speed up as I come down there.
Yeah, all right.
There we go. The idea is we're keeping the speed up to the ground. We're not, and again, I'm being incredibly smooth. Did I jerk the controls at all? It's just very smooth. Gradually adding pressure to kind of round it out there and then let the speed bleed off. Just a couple feet below the ground is what we want.
Okay.
All right, you have the controls?
I have the controls?
You have the controls.
All right.
So idle, but keep descending for the runway. Keep maintaining that airspeed, which just means just keep descending to the runway. That's all you have to worry about. So once you pull to idle, don't look at the airspeed, but just keep descending at the same path you were before.
Right.
Until you start getting closer to the runway, start that smooth round out to your couple feet above the ground, and just let it, that nose slowly rise as you bleed off speed. The way you're landing it works fine for a jet. Doesn't work that well for a light aircraft.
Okay.
You have to land them two completely different ways. Well, it works well for a small aircraft until you get up on a nice and gusty day. Then it gets fun.
Yeah. We had that little bit of, when we were out there midway in the last flight.
A little bit of a gust.
Yeah, and it picked us up quite a bit. So it was like, really? And of course, it didn't bother me. It's like, well, just a matter of fact, things happen. I mean, it caught me by surprise.
Oh, yeah.
But you explained what it was. It was not a big deal.
There's nothing you did.
Grand Prairie Tower, take 919 Alpha Alpha. Midfield, 17 left for the option.
Take 9 Alpha Alpha, only 17 clear for the option.
17 Alpha, clear for the option.
All right.
I'm just going to leave it at that.
You got everything in there you should have. Wasn't in the right order, but you got it in there.
The whole thing, of course, is the communication.
Oh, you're doing perfectly fine with it.
So, all right.
Remember to keep that nose down.
Hey, good morning, Grand Prairie Tower, pipeline 80535.
Pipeline 80535, Grand Prairie Tower.
Yes, sir, 535, Cessna 172, about a mile northwest of AT&T Stadium at 1500. Like to transition to the southeast.
Pipeline 535, transition approved, altimeter 3009. Our traffic on the base to final is the fixed wing in the touch and go pattern left turns, 1,400 feet and below.
Okay, I'll climb up just a little bit. Transition approved, and I'll keep an eye out for that traffic. 535.
Well, I was sitting there naturally starting to look for him as soon as he where he was at.
Yeah, he's way out there. He doesn't matter for us right now. Nose is raising right now, so your speed's going to be slowing. So add a little power, drop that nose touch. There you go. You can see this thing rides a lot of power. We're not just coming in like minimum power. We actually ride quite a bit of it.
And that was it. Too much, but
Yep, that's just fine.
there we go. Right.
Beautiful.
Angle, push.
Yeah, much better. Flare wasn't as good as the first time, but you'll get that blending of the round out and the flare. But that round out is exactly what I want there. You see how the plane felt much more in control as you got down to the ground. It didn't feel a little wishy-washy.
Right.
That's what we want. We want that command of the aircraft.
Yeah, and You know, when we first started doing the landings with me, I was freaked out. It felt like the ground was coming up real fast.
Yeah, and you got into that habit of doing that little descent and then rocketing back up in the air.
Yeah.
You're getting more calm with it now.
Yeah, now that I don't feel like we're just going to plow right into the ground.
I won't let you plow right into the ground.
But that's always the sensation that I had, you know, the visual and what have you.
Thought you were lower to the ground than you were.
Right. I'm willing to bet by now my phone has quit recording, but...
Wait till we turn away from the sun.
Not a problem.
Nope, still going.
Okay. Could always just hit the stop button on it. I think it's off to the right, and then start it up again.
Okay. Don't want to disturb it trying to